Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about our integrated project, which is called Be the Chemist. So basically, we decided to do a game that will simulate experimental chemistry in virtual reality using an HTC Vive, which is a Steam VR headset that uses Steam to simulate virtual reality. So in first, we're going to talk about the general objective of our project. Then we're going to briefly discuss the tools that we use to create a project. Then we're going to do a game overview, and then we're going to do a demo to show the features of the game. So in first, we decided to do a project related to learning because we thought that education had many flaws that prevented students from learning properly. So we started out by doing a little bit of research to find out the biggest of these flaws. And this is when we noticed that when learning, students tend to learn more when they simulate a real experiment. So if we consider the things that students do while listening to a lecture, which are reading, hearing words, and looking at pictures, which are the two first things on the pyramid here, we can observe that students tend to retain 10 to 30% of the information. But when they do a simulation of a real experience, or when they do something in real life, they tend to retain 90% of the information. So we decided to create a tool that will improve the simulating process for students. So this is when we decided to focus on chemistry, because we thought that the flaws for learning in experimental chemistry were even bigger, because students often had to face safety issues, environmental issues, and sometimes teachers provided a bad learning experience. So we decided to create a tool that will can solve all these things. So we created a tool that uses VR to simulate experimental chemistry. So when doing experimental chemistry, there are two main advantages, which are learning chemistry at a rate of 90% more than when simply listening to a lecture and developing practical chemistry skills. But there are also disadvantages, such as two types of resource consumption. There is a consumption of human resources, such as lab technicians or teachers, physical resources, such as chemistry elements and equipment, and economical substances in order to pay for all of these. There is also an environmental and safety concerns, because learning implies mistakes, and mistakes often implies that students do not follow safety measures, and there is no place for individual experimentation, because teachers often provide preset lab experiment in order to create a safe experience for students. So the main goal of our project was to shift basically all of these disadvantages to advantages, and we can observe that when simulating chemistry experiments, basically we keep most of the advantages, and we create a safe environment, an eco-friendly environment that allows individual experimentations, because students are not confined to follow safety measures, because whatever happens will not have a real physical impact on them. And while doing so, it only creates one main negative impact, which is adaptation to VR technology. And since VR technology has been on the rise in the last decades, we thought that it will not be a problem in the future. So I'll let Toby continue with an overview of the game.
So as a general overview of our game, it's in single player. It's set in a lab environment. You have complete access to a periodic table of the elements, so you can spawn any kind of elements you want. You have access to any chemistry equipment that you would have in a normal lab environment. It's a very theory-based algorithm to control the chemistry. It's based on some very simple rules. For example, an acid will always react to the base. So when you put a base and an acid in the game, that will always react. It's in sandbox mode right now. We had the idea to do a career mode, but right now it's only sandbox mode. So you have free access to everything, unlimited access. There is no kind of risk with taking anything. and we have a simple movement system of just teleporting around using the controller and pointing the movement. So we use the following tools: Geomonkey Engine with the NetBeans IDE, the Geomonkey VR libraries to have access to virtual reality development on Geomonkey Engine, Steam VR, which fetches the data directly from the headset to display everything in game, and SketchUp 2017 for the 3D modeling. So just some quick main mechanics. We've got the movement system. As said, you point wherever you want and it teleports you. The physics were very simple to make in general. All you had to do really was use what was already integrated in Geomonkey Engine. So all objects like the containers and tools that you'll use in game have physics, so you can throw them around. And the particles of the physics, so when you pour the liquid, that was really just everything is already in vectors in the engine, so all you have to do is add the acceleration that is already set to, you add that to its velocity, and then you add that to its position to move it around. It was very simple to do. And the chemistry, it's full chemistry acid reactions. Again, like acid and base, we also got halogen displacement, halogen metal and hydrogen displacement. Those are all implemented. So now for the demo and the feature showcase. So first off, we got the menu right here. Am I in the way? Can everybody see? Yeah. So we've got the main menu here. We've got simple toggle mode button. Usually, if you press on that, it would actually change to career mode or whatever other mode we have. And the exit button, which I will not press. And the quick credits here we have. So as you can see, I can teleport around wherever I point. It teleports me there. So first off, we got the substance list. So so I can just right now this arrow points to this substance list. Otherwise, I can change it just by pressing the trigger on it by pointing it to point to the material list. So right now it'll write here. So I can write H. That'll check for the chemical equation through all of these substances through the game. And now we just select hydrogen chloride and spawn it. So here I have it in my hand. Just put it here. So after that we got the filters menu. So like that. So I can go for all the gases. I can also go for all the liquids in here. Go for all the solids. You can scroll down through the list and up, and then it's like that. And through the type here, the type filter, you can do acid, base, halogen, salt, metal, and other. If I change this now, we got the material list, so I can have a beaker, I can have a gas sack. Have drone air and a testing. So those items, I can now grab them just by picking them up. That highlight appears to show that you can grab them. And again, like the filters here, we have the class, so we got container, tool, which doesn't have anything yet, and none. So here, pretty much we have periodic table of the elements. Right now, all the things that are grayed out are not implemented simply because we had to add in all the substances one by one. That was pretty long to do. So we got the hydrogen. Okay. Got let's say lithium. You can see here clearly the solid in the beaker. Import. If we want, we can also check the volume and the temperature, and as you can see, the volume goes there in the beaker. This you can get a description of what you have pretty much by pressing the menu button on the top of the controller. You can also spawn whatever you want, really. And liquids, bromine, bright red. So we can put anything in the trash, it'll just disappear. Destroy it from the game, removes it completely. Quickly here we got the sinks. Take this, put down here. You have here it goes up pretty quickly. And the temperature depends also on what you set it to be here. So here we set it to hotter, it's gonna get hotter. So here we can go and heat that up on the hot plate. Just set this to higher. And here we can see it'll go up slowly. It will heat up the water all the way up to whatever it goes at 373, I think. Here you also have the distilled water container. You can turn it on and off. This drops into the distilled water, and the chemical waste disposal container, you can just pour stuff in there. It won't go into the floor. This isn't really useful in the sandbox mode, but when you're in career mode and need this for like actually disposing of things, that's where you put it. And finally, we've got the fume hood right here. So any of the gas that gets put in here, it will eventually, well, it will disappear automatically. Any gas particles that spawn in the fume hood will be deleted there. This is gonna take a while, so I don't think I'm gonna show that right away. But yeah, here you go. Yeah. Anyone want to try?
Anyone want to try?
Yeah, at least one person can try. Danny.
William wanted to try it.
Oh,
William.
Yeah, can I try? Oh. Okay, yeah, try.
So big chloride. We don't have that. And hydroxide. So here we got this hydrogen chloride, and put this in, and here you can see that sodium hydroxide was put in. So you can see that 0.128 liters. With now there is water and sodium chloride, which would be the actual result. And since sodium chloride is actually soluble in water, well, you don't see the solid in there, but otherwise you would. If there is no water in there, you would see the solid. There's no like spectacular booms or anything yet. There's just simple little chemistry reactions like that. But it works.
So who's gonna try it?
I can try it.
Okay.
It's not that bad.
I think so. Whoa. What's the button?
Okay.
So
Whoa.
it's down on a big circle to
So
tilt.
this. Okay, like this.
Whoa!
So I can take. How? Like this. How do you?
Yeah, these are stuck.
Okay. Okay, and like both hands do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And you take with this,
The trigger.
the trigger.
Then once you selected a substance, then you have to get selected item. Click on that.
Okay, right. Okay. Cool. Great.
Any question? Question?
It's more about the equipment. How much does the whole thing cost?
This whole thing here,
Yeah.
$1,500 just for the Vive. And you need a computer to run it.
Okay, thank you.
So, hi everyone. Today, myself, Sabina Sassou, and Danny Stefan will present to you our project called Melodies.
So, for as long as computers have been alive, the interaction between the computer and the human has always started with the keyboard. We would input commands into the keyboard for the computer to execute functions. Along came the mouse, and then, following the keyboard and the mouse, we have now reached the touchscreen. The touchscreen was a good breakthrough in the human interaction between computers and humans. However, today we see a augmenting trend in voice interaction. Just like you have Siri on your phone, Google on your Android device, and now the arrival of smart home speakers.
So, like Danny said, we all know Siri and Cortana being basically voice interactive software that you can have on your phone and on your computer. But there has never been a fully operational, independent platform or device that developers could also add their own content to, until Amazon released the Amazon Echo, which is basically what you see here. This was the first, this is the Amazon Echo, which is basically the most popular. So basically what it is, it's a speaker that you can talk to, which has a built-in microphone as well. And it contains a software called Alexa. So basically, Alexa is an intelligent personal assistant developed by Amazon, and it is also capable of voice interaction, like I said earlier, because it runs on the Amazon Echo, so it's able of basically giving you information in real life time. And it can also control smart devices in your home if you have a smart home. And you can also, you can trigger it with a trigger word like Alexa or Echo, or you can push a button depending on your the device. And finally, right now you can only talk to it in English or in German.
So, to get your brand new device up and running, you have to download skills from the Amazon app. You'll have to navigate to the skills store, where you'll be greeted with a list of skills that add additional functionalities to your Alexa in order to have the best possible user experience with your new smart home speaker. Skills are basically applications like you would find on a computer or on your phone. Some skills also link your Amazon account to external services such as Uber or even Domino Pizza. So from your Alexa, with your voice you can request an Uber or a pizza to be delivered at your front door. Moreover, as Sabine explained, you can control your other smart home devices around your household, such as your Philips Hue lights or others various supported devices such as, well, lights and thermostats. Amazon sells 3 devices that incorporate this Alexa software, this artificial intelligence, as you can say. The first being the Amazon Echo, this big tower here, that has a built-in speaker and no other external outputs. The speaker has an array of microphones, and it basically listens to your voice for any request. Secondly, we have the Amazon Tap, which behaves as a Bluetooth speaker. There is also a Alexa functionality built in it. You press the button to invoke it. It will not listen to your voice commands continuously because it has a portable battery as opposed to the normal Echo that has to be plugged into a continuous source of power. This, you can take it to the beach, anywhere else, and still have the Alexa capabilities with you on the go.
So like we said, we have the Echo that you can buy pretty much anywhere, like at Best Buy or even on Amazon's website, and it is currently sold for $180, and it's in black or white. And then you have the Tab, which is also pretty expensive, $130, but it is more customizable with the cases and that you can bring. And finally, we have a more affordable option, which is the Amazon Dot, which we have is the tiny device there, which is $50, and it is also black or white as the colors. And it's basically just a mini Echo that you can, it's quieter, but it's also more small, so you can have it basically in your house kind of hidden. And it does everything the Echo does, and it can also connect and control your smart home device.
This tiny Echo has an additional feature to the original iteration of the Amazon Echo. You can connect to external speakers with a 3.5mm headphone jack.
And finally, we can also find some indie, we can say, mobile applications that are not from Amazon, but by other developers who include the Alexa software in them. So for the iOS, we found Revert for Amazon Alexa, which works pretty well. So you can also bring it with you everywhere. So why should you buy them? Well, first, it is the most effective voice interactive device on the market, as opposed to others like Siri or Cortana. And it is also, we also know the Google Home will be released soon, but we don't know yet if it's better or not than the Amazon. But right now, the Amazon Echo is the best option. It is a useful hand-free gadget, perfect for every home. So like we said, you can just leave it on your counter and basically talk to it anytime. You don't have to press a button unless it's the tab. And you can basically, while cooking, ask for the weather, ask what your recipe is, and basically it's very useful to have in your house. And like I said, since it is hand-free and it can provide you with a lot of information, it will make also your life easier and more fun, as you can also play music on it. And obviously it will save you time, because anything that you can Google, you can also ask your Alexa instead, and it will reply to you with the answer. And obviously, if you have a smart home, it can be very useful, because like instead of turning on and off the lights, you can just ask Alexa to do it for you. And obviously, it's a glimpse of the future, like we said earlier.
Just to give you a quick demonstration of the basic functionalities of Alexa. So for example, Alexa, play Spotify.
Resuming Spotify.
Hold on.
You can play music
I got to start this
from your
motherfucker
external services such as Spotify or Amazon Music. Alexa, stop. Stop. Alexa, stop.
Hey, y'all get
Stop. You can also ask it for the weather. Alexa, what's the weather like in Montreal?
Currently, in Montreal, Canada, it's 13 degrees with partly sunny skies. Today, you can expect intermittent clouds with a high of 21 degrees and a low of 11 degrees.
All the other features are yours to explore.
So in the end, because why did we decide to create an application or a skill for the Amazon Echo? Well, first of all, we decided that we wanted to get away from the path of video games, especially for mobile devices, because we noticed that a lot of people were going to do that, and we kind of wanted to be a little bit more original. And it is something that we never saw anyone do in this class or in this school in particular. Working with a voice interactive device, any of them actually, we thought that it would be really cool if we could achieve this project.
We were very excited to learn the new things that the voice interface has to offer, as it is, as we mentioned, we glance in the future. Working with the Alexa would grant us knowledge into cloud computing and learning API languages. With cloud computing, we would explore the different areas of how code can be managed and resourced by external companies such as Amazon, which provides the Amazon Web Services. And the maintenance of such servers are not directly targeted to the developer. And so cloud computing really opens up the opportunities and breaks the boundaries of how a developer can code applications even on the go. And so for the APIs, because our skill will implement other microservices functions, we learned how to use APIs and the language behind them to extract information from the different services that we want to implement within our skill.
Yes, so to resume, the application, My Linguist, is the perfect solution to learning a new language fast and easy. It has a quick translation from English to whatever desired language you want, and it's a quick refresher in a conversation. So basically, it's a translation skill. So you can have many conversations with the Alexa to arrive to the desired translation. So here we have a little conversation flowchart with 3 ways. So I'll go fast in them. Basically, the way 3 is just a very quick way to get it on the go if you have just a question in your head how to translate the word to a language. So basically, you can say, Alexa, ask My Linguist to translate, for example, car in French, and it'll give you your translation. You can also do it the first way, which is you basically ask it to translate your whatever input you give it, and then it'll ask you for a language to make sure that it heard you correctly. Because sometimes there can be an error margin where the Alexa, for example, if you have an accent, it can hear you wrong. So basically, this way it will make sure that what you want to translate is correct. Otherwise, you can go back to the beginning. And finally, you input your language. Or the way 2, which is the opposite, you start with the language and you finish with your input. And all 3 ways give you the same result.
Here are a couple of limitations that this voice interface, as well as the Microsoft Translator API, limited us with. So the Microsoft Translator API has a number of languages. Our skill therefore supports up to 52 languages for a translation in text format, and up to around 15 languages for a spoken voice playback. On top of this, because we are limited to this voice interface, sentences have to be limited. Because if it goes over a certain number of words, then it defeats the purpose of having a voice interface for our skill. And so we're happy to say that our skill can support sentences up to 15 words. Here are the list of languages, a couple of languages that the text-to-speech method provides us from the Microsoft Translator API. A brief presentation of the algorithm once again. The user will speak to Alexa, will have an utterance that will trigger intents, and the code runs in line. And then to be handled by the Microsoft Translator API. Any internal functions will be will be executed in the temporary storage solution by that. And once the translation is processed, Alexa will respond back to the user.
Yes, so basically what we have is a translation object which takes care of the Microsoft Translator API. And with that we have a main method where we have all our intents, which basically an intent, for example, you can have a language intent. So when you input your language, it will trigger this language intent, which will trigger whatever methods we have planned to get triggered. And basically, we can have many utterances for one intent. For example, we have in whatever language. The user can say to whatever language. And all of these will trigger the same intent.
So now let's take a look at the Alexa app and how you can download or enable the My Linguist skill for your Alexa. So, let's say Sabine here just bought her brand new Amazon Echo. And she happened to discover that she might need a translation skill so that her grandmother can understand whatever she is saying to her. So if she hops over to her Alexa app in the browser,
Which can also be accessed on your mobile.
she will go ahead and click on to the skill store and search for a translation skill. From the list of skills, you can see that My Linguist appears. There you can quickly enable the skill and be presented with a brief description of how the skill works. We have a couple of sample utterances. This is some sample sentences that you can say to trigger the skill. If you read through the description, you'll see that we support up to 52 languages. Among these.
Yes. Every time one of these languages is triggered, even if the Alexa doesn't speak it, so basically we can't provide you with the pronunciation, there will still be a card, which we'll explain later, that will be sent with the translation, basically like you would do on Google Translation.
So, some quick demonstrations of how our skill works. Let's start with the wave 3, the direct translation. I would start with the invocation name followed by my request. So, Alexa, ask My Linguist to translate car in Spanish.
Car in Spanish is coche. If you wish to hear the translation again, ask me to repeat. Say repeat.
Repeat.
Car in Spanish is coche.
After translation, the user is presented with 3 options, either to repeat, to say another word in the same language that he provided previously, or to continue translating that same word in another language. The graphical user interface presented by the Alexa app will greet you with a card that has your translation in text format. We'll test the other conversations that you can have with Alexa. So we can do the word first. Alexa, ask My Linguist to translate "the dog went to the park."
What language would you like to translate "the dog went to the park" in?
In Italian.
The dog went to the park in Italian is
Il cane è andato al parco.
If you wish to hear the translation again, ask me to repeat. You can also ask me for another language or another word.
In French.
The dog went to the park in French is
Le chien est allé au parc.
If you wish to hear the translation again, ask me to repeat. You can also ask me for another language or another word.
Translate "computers are powerful."
Computers are powerful in French is
Les ordinateurs sont puissants.
If you wish to hear the translation again, ask me to repeat. You can also ask me for another language or another word.
Stop. So, is another utterance that the user can say whenever he wishes to terminate the app. If the user perhaps needs some help because he forgot how to interact with her skill, all he needs to say is, Alexa, ask my linguist to help me.
It looks like you need help. You can visit your Alexa app for any examples of what to say to me. If I didn't understand correctly, don't be shy to ask me again. Just ask me to translate a word or a sentence. Say translate followed by the word or the sentence that you wish to translate.
Translate table.
What language would you like to translate table in?
Italian.
Table in Italian is.
Tavolo.
So
If you wish to hear
From
the
there,
translation
the
again,
user can-
ask me to repeat.
quickly get a glimpse at the different utterances he can say to the skill and quickly get started with another request.
Recognize this language. Please tell me a valid language. If you meant to ask for a word or a sentence,
Sometimes
say
Alexa can
translate
pick up background noises.
Exactly. Because of the voice recognition limitations, background noises may be susceptible to be captured by the array of microphones, and obviously it is not perfect. Let's have the different conversation flow. So let's,
that she can't speak.
yes. Alexa, ask my linguist to translate in Romanian.
Ask for a word or a sentence to be translated. Say translate followed by the word or the sentence that you wish to translate.
Translate telephone.
Sorry, I don't speak that language. Visit your Alexa app and take a look at the card where you will see your translation. You can try to say another language by saying translate in, followed by your requested language.
Translate in French.
Telephone in French is.
Téléphone.
If you wish to hear the translation again, ask me to repeat.
Stop. So, as you've seen here, whenever Alexa cannot provide a voice playback, she will provide you with a card in text format of your translation.
So yes, this project was a very long journey in the term of research because it was something like we said we haven't done before. But we're really happy in the end. Of course, we haven't mastered the APIs and the clouds in the Amazon Alexa, but we can probably say that we're one step closer to that. Thank you.
We're proudly to announce that the My Linguist skill is now available on the skill store for anyone to use, and we have over 150 users currently using it today. Thank you.
Questions?
Does it support the Tagalog language?
It does not for now. Other versions of this skill could possibly do.
Thanks.
Yes.
Did you guys pay any fees to put it on Amazon?
No. Any developer that develops skills for this Alexa is free of charge within the first year of their subscription to AWS, Amazon's web services, in order to run the code and handle it.
Can we have Alexa on our phones?
Yes, you can download the Reaper app. You just need a Amazon account.
Okay.
It's also free to do.
And then you can download.
You can download any skills, yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the application we're going to present to you today is called MAN, which is Market Alert Notifications, which is a stock screen. So the layout of the presentation we will have at first, how we came with the idea, the second, the objectives of the program, how we did the applications and the difficulties and problems, and we finish by saying what our application has to offer. So how we came with the idea, well, we were interested of making our own stock screener because many stock screeners have certain problems that we would like to resolve, such as you want to make your own notifications on a certain stock. Well, you can't usually with a stock screener you can find online. You can have other advantages using someone else's application, but you can't have what exactly you want. There's always something that needs to be customized the way you want it to be. Not everyone is good in finance, so this application will help anyone that has from no knowledge to a lot of knowledge in finance, selecting the companies they want to invest in. You can have your information stored without an account, so you put directly this application on your computer. You don't need any credentials, and it works. And you can have a lot of information into a single location instead of opening multiple tabs and having your information layout into multiple panels inside your web browser. So we're talking here about news articles that you want to read, graphs from Google or Yahoo, and notifications that you'd like to notice. So the objectives of our program is making the information simple and clear for any user that has from no knowledge to a lot of knowledge on finance. We try to replicate Google to make it a lot more user-friendly, because Google has made some research to make their own layout more user-friendly, and we want to avoid the direct use of internet. So what we do is that we minimize the use of the internet by drawing our own graphs and only taking the links to the articles in Google.
So for the tools and methodologies we use NetBeans as the IDE for programming the app, and JavaFX for the graphical user interface. For drawing the graphs, we needed the tables with the data that were in Excel files, so we used GXL to read those files. As well as screen recorder to do tutorial videos, so for downloading MySQL for the database and how to use the app itself. We also use the GSUS library for web scraping, since we look at the internet for some of the data that is displayed, and also for the links to the articles about the stock that you are looking at in your watch list.
So this is an example of the Google's user interface. So what it looks like is that you have your price on the top left, you have a graph here, you have your news here. So instead what we did, we just took this layout here, made it into a single window. Here we put it into a search tab, which allows you to analyze the whole graph, and we lay out this information, the key features, and voila. So the design of the application, we separated the application to 5 tabs: the watch list, the notifications, the search panel, the tutorials, and the options. Now, the watch list is for storing companies that you like to watch, so to know some information about it. The notification is for your own perspective on the stock, so how much did it go up in one day, how low did it go in one day, or even is it at its highest of the year or its lowest of the year. Search panel is to search any stock. Tutorials, you guessed it. Options for applying your credentials to connect with the database you create. So the watch list panel is simply a collections of all the companies that you are currently watching. So the name of the company, the ticker, which is a representation of the name of the company, current price that updates every 15 minutes, the open, which is the price at which it started in the day, 52 weeks, so that means the lowest point in the 52 weeks with the highest point, and the shares the stock has in the others.
Or interactive, that's where you will find the articles about the stock you're looking at, which are all in your watch list. And you can also access the notifications from here instead of going here. If you have the notification for every stock in your watch list, here you can access the notification for a specific stock you want to focus on.
So like I said, this is every information. The one thing that I will have to say is that there's a maximum of 20 elements because we try to update every Excel file to have the newest information. So everything is connected here to a database. We are simply taking up information and laying it out for you. And there's a delete button that was on the bottom here, remove from list to delete one of the tickets that you have in the watch list. So the notification panel is to store all the notifications that you have. So if the stock goes up, if it goes down, highest, lowest.
You can have up to 100 notifications displayed on this tab about all your stocks on the watch list.
And it's always the latest 100
notified with the
dates, tickers, and description. And that's said. We create the notifications from our own calculations. We are piling them up in a database. We are taking the most recent ones and eliminating the oldest ones. The only last 100 are shown, and these are our 4 types of notifications: the bearish, the bullish, the up and down 2%. Bearish and bullish are simply the highest of the year and the lowest of the year. Search panel.
Let's see what they want this. Should we do the whole of this step? Since it's more interactive. So this is where the analysis will be done mainly, and where you search for stocks to add to your watch list.
So if you include here a ticker you'd like to watch, let's say, I don't know.
Here is where you select your market. These are American markets where you can search for it.
Yeah. Then you select the ticker. If you don't know the ticker that you're watching, but you know, let's say, the first character, you can write up T, and then look at the choices that you have. There's none displayed here right now. There's no other, so let's say T.
So you need to have the ticker that exists in this market in order to do the search.
So usually what it does is that when you write down a ticker, it gives you choices that you can put in your arrow here, and you can select them, and it puts it into your text field. And then once this is done, let's say I have from the watch list I have F. So what it does usually is that when you click search, it displays a graph. And with this graph, you can select other indicators, such as the MACD, the RSI, the stochastics, or the OBV and the key features. And next, you can click on these indicators to show you a second graph, which displays the other technical analysis. And finally, you can also add to watch list, which goes directly into your watch list panel.
There's lots of information displayed on drag for the type of analysis, such as my DRSI, since it's some complicated things and we wanted the application to be useful also if you don't know much about finance. So we have the instructions and about these features, and also the graph is interactive. You can click on the time, the x-axis of your cursor will define the time when you want to have the current price, and it will be displayed on the right of the graph.
Okay, so if it didn't work like it didn't work last time, you haven't entered an existing ticker, or else as displayed when you load the tab, there will be nothing. Okay, so for the tutorials, tutorials, we have to follow the tutorials from left to right and top to bottom. We didn't have the image loaded. We had a problem with that, so we made the text interactive instead. So all you have to do is click on the text, and pop-up will appear with the videos. I'll show you that right now. I'll run it through NetBeans after, because I think whatever the copy did, it really messed up good. Okay. So usually what it does when you click on it, shows another window, and then you can have your videos play. And there's a play button at the bottom, and you can play with the volume. Okay, so what we did is that we simply made a grid pane to align videos. We used to map the image to the text, which we used to. And we use an example media in the book for our video. So it looks like a media player, just like Windows media player. For the options panel, we have our description at the top, how it works, if you're connected or not, and your credentials to be used. It will change every time you enter some credentials here. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't change, I mean, it's because you still have entered wrong credentials. Okay, after each modification of the credentials, we test the connection, and the credentials are stored in a file and updated.
Yeah, so for web scraping, as I mentioned, we used it for some features as key features in the search tab, but you have some graph analysis, which will be output on a separate graph just at the bottom, but you also have some more other information that, for example, in Google Finance are displayed on top of the graph, but we wanted it to be very classified and not messy, so we created just another things, which is key features with information from and also for the news of the articles. That's how we get the latest news. It's by looking at the web. For the difficulties, we found making the application, or to update using the alternate information. As if we want to update them all the time with the thread, it's very consuming for the to roll down the application. So we needed to put like a time away and put it as efficient as we could to not slow down the application. We wanted to make sure every scene will bind to the size of the stage. If the user wants this window to be precise size in his screen, we will make sure that while clicking on any button, we're creating a new scene, it always stays the same size. The scroll bars for the two graphs are linked together since they are sharing the same timeline, the same x-axis. There was we needed to learn about how to download Excel files and read them from coding from a program, and so also there's a lot of space used by the program, so we put it as efficient as possible.
There's a lot of lines stored in the graph, so we have to the application uses a lot of them.
So for the diagram or the design of the application, there's no innovations or polymorphism on the algorithm of the design. It's more about packages that interact with each other. The main package, which will show output the stage and the scene and everything, is this touchscreen main with the class graphic setup, which will interact with the watch this package, tutorial, search function, which are, as you have seen, the tabs that are at the top menu of the application. The something interesting we did about the class in particular is the graphs interactive. We put it very flexible, so we did a huge class to work with it. So this is the data field that we use in this class. It's all we can all change them in order. It's relative to the cloud analysis. You click on the search tab. And so we all draw the scene, the paint, the graph, indicators, so we get data from the area. So this is
Probably the most important part of our project because it required a lot of work to make the graphs being able to extend and shorten, and because of that we had to amount a lot of time into it because it was one of our main components of our project.
Yeah. So to summarize, we learned to use many things such as database with MySQL or the web scraping with GSOO, or like I said, we used GXL, which was new for us. For the tutorial videos, but also a new thing for us to do those types of videos with the screen. Our main goal is to really save time for the user. We want him to be able to search and analyze his stocks, classify them, get specifications about them, and without having to do all the research by himself. So this is the main goal.
So because it didn't work, I want to show that it really works. It's just that it's a bug. We don't know why. We try to convert our file to an exe, but the applications that we use, the first one we used with GSmooth, it didn't recognize that we had other packages in jar files, so we couldn't. The second one didn't recognize that we had a lunch method, so it didn't work either. So then we were stuck like using the jar file. And we tried to, but it didn't work. So for now, we probably stuck with this NetBeans stuff. Search panel. So if we try T. It gives you the possible selections that you can make from your T that you have entered. You can click search, loading, please wait, draws a graph. Now you can choose different indicators. Now you can't see it, but all you have to do is scroll, and then you see
full screen.
Yeah, also with full screen, and it's all centered. You can analyze the stocks using SMA or EMA, which are indicators that help user analyze if a stock is good or not.
As you drag on buttons, most of the time you get information about what those are for.
Yeah.
If you click on the features, for example, this is what I talked about when I said the things that are at the top of the graph on Google Finance, all here, and you have a description of every one of them, so that even if you don't know anything about finance, you can still use them or get an idea.
So the tutorials, let's see the tutorials, let it work. Okay, so now we see essentially in full screen the tutorial. You have at the bottom the play button, and you have the volume. So then you see the cursor, my mouse, when I click, there will be, I think it's color. When I click, it shows you exactly the steps to do to get the application loaded and to get everything into your program. What's this?
So when you extract you click on the clicker like this, you'll get the news, the latest news about this ticker. On clicking on it, you get to the browser and find articles about it. yeah, you also get the notifications, and if you click on the C graph button, you literally get to the graph analysis on the search tab with banking, and as you can see, it's the graph, the stock that we looked at here or another. It's like a shortcut.
So to finalize, what makes our program better is because it makes the user develop a moderate understand to finance, from knowing nothing to knowing something, or even knowing a lot. And it's a skill that can be developed and mastered, and it's something that probably all of us should know to start investing our money somewhere instead of laying it out and letting it sleeping. Never gets old. The news always change, so there's always something new. You want to get information. Games get old, you get tired of it. Well, this app, you can't get tired of it essentially because the news will always be different. And the tutorial section allows no question to be asked, so it's simple. You don't have to try to find your way through the application. You know how to use it. Thank you.
So hey everybody, so for our integrative project, we decided to make an application called Moods. And so as you may remember from our last presentation, our main objective is to revolutionize the way we communicate at our school environment. So
first, what is Moods? Moods is an Android app. It's a social media, and it's for Champlain college students, as Amir said. Why did we choose this project? Because in the past few years, mobile apps have greater demand. The revenue has increased, as we can see on this graph. Also, we saw that we often had difficulty to communicate easily with friends in the college. We all had the similar situation when you get out of class and you just want to text a friend and go see him or her, but they don't respond and you don't know where they are. With Moods, you always know where your friends are. You always know if they're in a break or not and what they're doing. Also, we chose this project because Android used Java to program, and we learned Java in class. And so yes, we thought it could be an interesting project for us.
And something quite interesting that we thought was that, as you can see here on the graph, the education sector for each year wasn't really, didn't generate a lot of revenue, but as you can see throughout the years, the education, which is in yellow, is starting to more and more gain some relevancy, and so we thought that it was perfect since we also wanted to work on something that has to do with the education area.
So the visuals, as you can see, our main color is blue because Champlain's main color is blue, and we inspired our layout from other social medias such as Facebook and Instagram. So I'll show you our design. So here you can see our login page, and this is where you can create your account. So if I log in, so here is the home page, or as we call it, the moods page, because it shows your own moods and where all your friends are. And you can, so by clicking on the pin, you can see who's the person, and who's the person that's there, and you can click on the name to go to their profile and see what they're doing. So you can see Etienne Birubé is now studying. He has no breaks today, and he's on the second floor. And you can, now I'm following him, and you can also unfollow him on his profile. You have a simple friend list that when you click on the name of a particular person, now I clicked on the name of Amir, it shows Amir's profile. It's the same principle with the search. The search, you can search people if they're friends or not your friend. So for example, if I say Ian, you have an account, or
If you're selling books.
so I can decide to follow him, and it says friend request sent. So yeah, it's saying that he's selling books, and I can also click on his name to go to his profile. Also, there's a notification center. Here I can see who poked me and who is following me. And I can, from there, I can poke people. So if I want to poke Etienne, I poked him and it says poke sent. I can also go to my profile where I can edit my mood, which is a mood essentially is what you're currently doing in the college. It shows me where I am and if I'm in break or not. And I can, from my profile, I can update my location by saying if I'm on the first, second, or third floor. So for example, right now I'm on the second floor. I can click, and it updated my location to there. Also, to show you our layout of where we create our breaks, this is the settings page, but if I click on modify schedule, I go to the breaks, and this is all of my breaks. So today I have a break from, usually on Tuesdays I have a break from 9:30 to 12:30, so this is there. And I can also create a new break by simply choosing the day, the start time, and the end time. Oh, and also we can go to the credits where we are crediting our amazing teacher. So yeah, Etienne will talk about how our app works.
Okay, so how does it work? Well, a little bit crash course on applications and how it works. You will understand that it uses Java as the programming language, which made it really simple for us to go into project and say, why not? So the first thing you need to know is we all did JavaFX last semester, so we all know what is a scene, what is a pane, and stuff like that. Well, so Android works kind of the same way. Instead, each page, instead of being a scene, is called an activity. So each page that you saw earlier, so creating your schedule, the login page, all of those are activities. And with those, you can also have some fragments, which are a more dynamic instance of an activity, which, as you can see, we will show it to you later on. We will show you a quick little demo. You have some tabs, and each tab is a fragment. So it kind of uses the same logic as JavaFX, but with a completely different syntax. Also, it uses XML code, which is similar to HTML in a certain way, with little nodes, and you can create some views, which are some nodes or children in JavaFX. So each little visual element will be using XML code for the width, the height, the elevation, the text color, and stuff like that, which can also be changed in the Java code. You need to link them together for the machine to understand what they are doing. So also one other thing that you need to understand is in JavaFX there is a lot of event handling, because the user can do a crap load of stuff. He can press on the back button, he can press on the home button, he can click on every single node, and you need to think for what the user will do. For instance, if you have a simple little text field and you just make it appear, but you click on it and it's not registered, it's gonna make the app crash, because the text field, the text view, he's expecting an input from the user, so you need to tell the machine this text doesn't do anything. So here's something that an activity does is an activity has a life cycle. So it starts with the onCreate, which is called by the JVM and the Android environment. It goes up to onStart, onResume. After that, the activity is running. Then it onPause, which goes to onResume, onStop, which goes to onRestart and onStart. So when dealing with activities, we don't really do some methods. Well, we can do some to make your life easier, but most of the time you're going to play with those methods that are invoked by the JVM and the Android environment in order to perform tasks or different actions.
Alright, so as a database, we decided to work with Firebase. Now, very briefly, Firebase is a NoSQL database, and it's considered to be really efficient with real-time data. And this is exactly what we need for a social media, because we need to receive and send the data efficiently. Now, something very interesting about Firebase is that it's actually owned by Google. It was bought by Google, and Google actually hosts the server for you, and that's a very big advantage of Firebase, because that means that you can make sure that you have a reliable hosting service, and that you don't even have to do anything. Google will handle everything for you. Next. So, and the way that, now you may ask, if Google is hosting the server, then how can you connect it to your own application? Well, how it works is basically when you create your Firebase account, Google will allow you to download a specific web API key that you have to download and insert into your mobile code. And once you have done that, both your back end and the database will be connected so that you can start programming. Now, something very efficient about Firebase is that everything is clear, and you can see everything that you do in a quick and efficient manner. So here, how our project works is that in our database, we have 3 tables. Now, the most important one is obviously the users, because it's where most of the action happens. So, for example, in the users table, we find all of our users' ID. So, for example, this user ID has 2ML, etc. Is assigned a break status, a floor level, a friend, and every important variable that we needed to program our application. So, and this one happens to be Danny, and we will later see more about Danny's profile when we show you the demo. And another thing that Firebase does for you is the authentication. Now, Firebase handles the authentication for you. All you have to do is obviously send a string of your password and username, and Firebase will even encrypt that authentication for you. So, more features about Firebase is that it gives you performance features, crash reporting features, test lab, and even analytics. So we thought that as moods can possibly grow, we will need to see how our users engage, because we want to make sure that the students are able to communicate in the most efficient manner possible. Therefore, using features such as the analytics panel, we'll be able to see at what day of the time are they using the app, and how long are they staying on the app, how many users we have per day, and if we have any problems with the coding part, well, Firebase offers us some crash reporting and some test labs to figure out what's wrong with the database.
Yeah. In other words, Firebase greatly simplified our project.
So some of the problems that have been solved in our project, because it was not a problem-free project, it was a lot of problem, and a lot of work was put in it. So the first of the problems that have been solved is the localization. So understanding how using the the user's device to get a localization was extremely hard. Using Google Maps API was hell. I know some of you guys are using some other Google APIs, and they will say the same thing as I am saying right now. It is really complicated to work with. One of the big problems was learning how it works. Because it looks like JavaFX in a certain way, but it's completely different at a completely other level. And there are a lot of little details you need to take into account. There's a lot of stuff you need to understand in order to make an efficient application. So this was one of the problems. The interaction with the database was actually pretty tricky because it uses getters and setters to put in the database, but the getters and setters need to be formatted a certain way for the database to understand what is going on. So this was one of the big problems. Android Studio, which is the program used in order to develop an app, uses Gradle as a kind of a compiler interpreter, and it was extremely hard to understand, because it's always filled with problems, and you need to understand what is the problems and how can you fix it. There is a lot of hours that have been lost in Gradle, I can tell to you right now. And the login and the register was something else that we needed to understand and try to fix, because it's one of the key components of our project.
So, what do we think of the potential of the application? So, obviously, here we're just starting up, and Moods is really dependent on a number of users, because if you wanna interact with your friends, they all need to be on the application, and the more users there are, the more Moods can fulfill its goal. Now, if we do succeed at building up an active user number, then we think that Moods can have expansion. So maybe we could go reach out to more schools, universities, more colleges all around the world, especially in North America. And also, since communication is something that we can find in most areas in our lives, Moods can even be something very relevant in your job environment. So meaning, let's say you're a manager and you want to have quick access, and you want your users to have quick access to the schedules that you are frequently updating, then you could be using an application similar to Moods to access and to send them their schedule. And what about the financial point of view? Now, obviously, Moods wouldn't be a very profitable application, because that's not what it's not a game. It's not something that you can really sell. But obviously, ads and some partnership with some education services can be made, and that's a very big chunk of revenue that can be made with Moods.
So now we'll do a demo to show you how Moods is useful. Alright. So right now, I'll take my tablet with Moods, and I'll go to the A block to go something else, and Etienne will show you that he can always know what I'm doing. And like, if I want to, he can know where I am and what I'm doing. So I'm going. Bye.
Go on. I think going into the A block at the end, so just as you can know, like if this is Champlain, here's the A block, so you'll probably see him like move around a little bit as soon as he will manually access his GPS, because one of the things that we wanted to know to implement is that the user is totally in control of his location. So if he doesn't want to be disturbed, he can just remove the share location widget, so all of his friends will not know where he is. And we didn't want everyone to know, oh, he's at the bathroom right now, so we implemented a little button that you need to press on in order for the GPS update to actually update. So if we go here, we'll get to move a little bit past from here. he was there, he's going there. So he might be only doing the circle around the F block. So this is the thing. So if we click on William, we'll see where he is right now. So right now, the last time he pressed the button, he was actually there in the CJEP, and now he is back here. So if we would have gone a little bit further in the CJEP, you would see him in the A block. Here we have one of our friends which is outside right now. There could be people in the E block, there could be people everywhere. So this is actually a way of knowing where the friends are. So if they're at the library or the cafeteria, you will know where they are.
Could you explain the breaks, how they work? As I show you, you can go to you can add breaks, and in your profile it tells you if your friend or yourself is in break, or if they or when's the next break.
So for example, here if I change semester, I don't have any breaks on Wednesday, I can just delete it. I can create a new one. So let's say I have one on Thursday from 15:35 up to it is a long break. I could save it, and it is there. It is Thursday, just right here. If I don't like it or I did a mistake, I can just delete it and it will be gone.
So in conclusion, our main objective is, as we said, is we want to revolutionize the way that you guys interact with your friends at school, whether it be at university or college. And something that we might not realize here is that colleges are often way bigger, and that you would usually have way more friends to interact with. For example, if you were at Dawson, and if we have noticed that there was a big problem that in finding and communicating with your friends in a smaller school, which is Champlain, then we can imagine that it can be a bigger problem in some bigger schools like Dawson and all of the colleges in Montreal. So therefore, we definitely think that MOOCs can have the potential to be something that the students want to use every day, because it's important for us to make sure that they want to interact with each other, and that they can do it in a quick and efficient manner. So that's what MOOCs was all about.
So thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. Today myself, Gabriel and Maël, we will present you our integrative project. We did an app called SITS. Alright, so all we came with the idea of doing a drinking application for entry. So first of all, we realized that we were kind of tired of the classic games such as beer pong and card games, and we don't always have access to those physical objects such as ping pong balls, cards, or cups, red cups. So we thought that we could do something to change this. So when we don't have access to those, what do we do to have fun drinking? So then we thought that people nowadays all carry a cell phone on them. So that's when we came up with the idea of doing an Android application, and Android use Java, so it's perfect for us.
And also it doesn't use internet, so anyone can play it anywhere when you have installed it on your phone.
Exactly. So our project's aim. So as I said, the purpose of our app is to bring change to any type of evening. We wanted to innovate some new games and some interactive one, which something that everybody would have fun playing with. And also, the main goal of our app is to provide an enjoyable drinking game without any physical need, as I mentioned before. So the tools we use.
So yeah, the tool we use. So we learned Java during our course at Champlain, so we thought why not do it in Java code.
Yeah.
So we used the Android Studio like the team before to create our application on Android, and it uses Java, so it was easy for us. Also, we have many pictures and graphics, so we use the Photoshop to edit them. Most of the time.
During the show up of the app, we'll show you which picture we edited with Photoshop. Also use Adobe After Effects. This was used to do some interactive songs, because our songs are videos with interaction in them. We'll show you to you after. We also use GitHub desktop app to synchronize and sync our project efficiently. And we use Skype because Skype has a very good option which is called screen sharing, because when we have any problems, we will just Skype and explain the problem with the screen of the other, and it was very helpful. We also use Google Drive to work on some like documentation and stuff. The Zoom GH4 Pro, we use this. It's an audio recorder because we have lots of sound within the app, and some sound were recorded. For example, I recorded a can turning around when we're like turning the roulette, and we use a good camera for the photo.
So yeah, for the features, so we have you can play from 2 to 8 players. So when you start the game, it's gonna ask you how many players you are. We have a settings menu where you can change the volume of the Android phone. You can also go into night modes, and you have all the rules of the mini games in the settings. So if you don't know a rule of a mini game, you just go into the settings and you search for the mini game. We have cool music and sound, and there's many Easter eggs in them. We have like 30 to 35 song and sound effects.
Yeah.
Also, when you create your player, you have the option to choose your color. You pick a name, and you have a gender, because there's some game that requires a gender. After you have 3 different difficulties for the questions. There's science questions, and there's 3 different categories, which are math, chemistry, and physics. You have the mood level, so you have the choice of 4 moods, depending on how much alcohol you want to consume during the game.
Yeah, and it's also depending on which type of night you're actually playing the game. And the mood level, if you play at a low mood, it means that you won't drink a lot, and if you play at high moods, it means that you'll drink a lot.
So the main interface is a roulette where the bottle will spin, and it will redirect you to others mini game. You have a stats layout where you can find the number of sips you took during the game, and you can see the top drinker, so the person which drink the biggest amount, and the worst drinker,
So
which is
each time that a player drinks, he drinks in a mini game, we keep the stats of this player, so that at the end of the game or during the game, you can see the stats of the whole of each player and of the worst and the best.
And we have 8 games inside our game.
We'll just quickly go over the games. So first of all, we have the random game. The random game is basically you play. We'll show it to you, but you have 6 unique actions, such as all boys drink, all girls drinks, etc. You have the waterfall on music. This is a well-known game. It's like you have a choice of 3 songs, and you need to drink with the beat. Each game are well explained within the app. You have the Joker game, which is 3 special events, such as neither yes, neither no, meaning that no one can say yes or no while you play the game, because if you say so, you have to take a sip. And other events too. We have the pull the rope. It's like the real pull the rope in the real life, meaning that you choose an opponent and you have to pull the rope on your side by tapping the screen. The loser drinks, obviously. You have a Simon Tap color. It's basically kind of the same. Simon Tap color is a popular game.
it's kind of the same thing. You have to follow the pattern that the computer does for you. You have like 4 colors and you have to follow the pattern. You have empty the cup. It's just a cup of beer and you have to click as fast as you can to empty it, and what's left in the cup you need to drink it. You have the dealer game. The dealer game is a card game where you guess a card, and then the computer tells you if the hidden card is higher or lower than your guess, and then you re-guess the card. If you have it right, you don't drink it. If you got it wrong, you get to drink the difference. And you have the science question game with different subjects and difficulty. We faced many difficulties during the implementation of our app. The first one was to set up GitHub. We had a very big problem doing that because he doesn't have a laptop. So at the beginning, we thought that we would set up the GitHub every class on a new computer, and we just abandoned that idea, and we only set up GitHub on my computer and on his desktop at home. So we manage our time so that in class he didn't code in class. We just talk about what's next and stuff, and we code on my computer, or he just came to class and he coded at his place. So that was the first difficulty. Then the size of our video, because when I did the After Effects videos, the size was like 200 megabytes per video, so I had to size it down. And with GitHub, we had very big trouble because we weren't able to sync because of the size. Because the size was too big. We had some internal crash because the two labs are together, because we cannot let we had to put many restrictions to our user, because if there is a dialogue, he can't be able to exit it, because the game after it won't make sense, because he had to make some choice in the dialogue. So that's why we had problems with this, but everything is solved. So it's time to show you what we did.
Screen, and there's our app at the bottom with the logo. So when you can open it, it's gonna bring you to the main menu. So there we're going to go to the settings so you can see the volume.
Yeah. So in the setting, if you want, you can if you click on rules, you can select. You can just remind you of the rules of each game before the game if you want to, but you also have access to them during the game. So that's an example. Okay.
And there's also the night mode.
Yeah, the night mode is simply the app, but the theme of the app change if you're playing in the dark. I mean, if it's just to adapt to your environment. Yeah.
So we'll go into the normal mode. So first you can.
Well,
the sound was too loud.
Alright. So over here, that's an example where we use Photoshop. Here you can see a skill map with a one-person alcohol. This is the casual mood. Then you have the pre-drink, which is a beer, wasted, which is a bottle of wine, and shoot, which is a well-known Four Loko. So you can choose your mood. For example, if you choose, what do you want?
Wasted.
So if you choose, what
I choose blue.
Okay, alright. So that icon is the one which will turn in the middle of the will show you.
So we're gonna choose 2 players.
Yeah. Alright, so here's you have to write your name. You have to gosh your gender.
So there you can choose your color. For example, I'm gonna choose orange. And then it writes my name on the orange color, so two people can't have the same color. When you create your players, it's gonna bring you to the main interface.
Yeah.
So there you have the bottle of the mood you choose. You have also the settings here, if you want. And there's the stats layout. So you can choose your player. And there's, for example, a temperature. Currently it's me because we have not started the game. So when you're ready, you just click on the ball and it's going to spin, and then it's gonna see which game you got.
So that's the mini cup game. Just gonna start. So the app asks you if you know the rules. If, for example, you say no. So
the goal is just to tap as fast as you can.
And the cup is kind of moving around. Because you have to follow.
So for example,
right now he's like he's tapping
tapping on the cup, and it's emptying it, and you have a timer at the top, and then it depends. It's gonna say how much you have to drink. So now we have to take 2 sips, and depending on the amount you tapped, you have to drink what's left.
Yeah. So just respecting you. So now it's turn 1, but it's players 2 turn. It's my turn. So I'm gonna do it. So I just click on this. So I have the music minigame. So that's the minigame with the After Effects composition. So the rule is just choose one song out of 3. So you have the Thunderstruck, which is you drink every time they call Thunder or Thunderstruck. You have the Roxanne from the Police, drink every time they call Roxanne. And you have Shots, which is drink every time you hear shots, but that's kind of impossible. So when you hear shots, you just start drinking. So for example, we'll take Roxanne. So here you can like remind you of the rule if you're too drunk, and so you can play it. So the song starts. And every time they call Roxanne,
it's gonna flash on the screen
to remind you. So right now everyone take a sip. So you can play and pause if you're too wasted. And like if it's like the 3rd time you're playing the game during the night, if you don't want to like go until the end of the song, you can just press back to the main icon. So now it's Mael's turn.
So this is the sound we recorded.
So this is the sound, and this is the science question minigame. So you have to choose a category. So for example, you can choose whatever you want. Easy. So let's suppose you have let's suppose you have 1 shot of pure vodka into 250 ml of orange juice to get Soul Champagne. What is the name of the substance in dessert? So mais pas la volute. By the way, answer 4 is always a joke, and those answers are like randomly, but so this answer is always
the last answer. So now when you fail,
and because we took because 7 sips is a lot. I mean, it's kind of heavy, but this is because we took the pure option. So when you don't have when your answer is wrong, you can either replay or exit. But if you replay, if you choose easy, you can only choose medium or high, and if you choose medium, you can only choose high because you have to replay at the higher difficulty. So because we played easy, we only had 2 options. So for example, good job, you're such a genius.
So now you don't have.
What was the question?
It's hidden. It's a hidden question. You can check the user manual and you have all the questions. And there's all the answer.
Alright, so it's my turn, for example. Try to do it a little faster. So I'll just get it over. Yeah, that's the good answer. Okay. I just want to show you the other things. So that's the pull the rope. So when you enter, you know the rules. Yeah, I do know the rules. So you have to choose the pole. For example, Mael, he can choose himself because he is the one playing right now. So he needs to choose me. So Gab.
It's time
So then you can start a game. So here I am and Mael is here. You click when you're ready, and then you're.
So then For example, it can go along. So because I lose, I have to drink.
So continue. So this is the Joker. The Joker is a game which you have 3 options. The first one is pick a mate. So it is explained behind the button, but when you pick a mate, is that every time you drink, your mate has to drink with you too. So if, for example, well, I'll just explain the other one. The question master is that every time you ask a question, if someone responds to you, he needs to take a sip, and then you need to know. I explained it before. So if, for example, I want to pick a mate, this is me playing, so I'll just test it. I can choose myself, so I'll pick Maël, and my drinking mate is Maël. And I'll show to you that over here, if I choose the player, if I choose Maël, Maël is now linked to Gab, and he already drank 21 sips. Alright, so just keep going. This is the random mini game, so it's straightforward. Yeah, it's like really under. You have to press the button and get a random action. So press it, and then. So you have to drink a percentage of your phones, and this is actually nice because, for example, he has 100%, so you have to finish it. Yeah. Yeah, and how we did to add this to the stats was each 20% was equal to each 10% was equal to 2 sips. So we got the percentage of the cell phone, and each 10% was 1 sip. So for example, if this will add 10 sips to his stats. So just the dealer. So the dealer is the card game. You know the rules? No, I don't know the rules. So you can read it for the first time, but it's a well-known game, and I'll explain to you while playing. So first of all, you need to make a guess with this bar over here. So for example, if I guess 8, so you make your first guess, you submit guess 1 on the button, and the computer says to you that the hidden card is higher. So make your second guess. If I, for example, I guess 10, and I need to drink 1 sip because 10 is the difference between 11 and 10. So I can go back to the game, but I can also double or quit, meaning that if I lose a second time, I'll drink 2 times the amount. Yeah, it's still. Alright, so if I replay, I will, if I lose a second time, I will drink twice. So for example, if I replay, make your first guess higher, for example, it's 11, so I need, because the difference is 2, but it's a double consequence, you have to drink 4. So back to the game.
What's the advantage of replaying?
It's just if you want to drink more, I mean.
No, because if you got it right, you won't have to drink.
Yeah.
So if you got it right for the first directly, everyone has to empty their drink.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
If your first guess is right, it'll say that there's like a dialogue that will pop up. Everyone needs to empty their cup right now. So
this is gonna be the last turn.
Yep.
So we got also so we have
there's games that always drink 7 sips.
So we didn't get the Simon Tap Color game.
Yeah.
And we didn't get the finisher drink.
So would you like to add froth term if we say just yes and just try to add the Simon Tap color? Alright, so that's the Simon Tap color. So if for example, no, I don't know the rules, so you need to follow the pattern of color that Simon, the computer, gives you. For example, if it taps green, tap green. If it taps yellow, then tap green and yellow and ainsi de suite.
Yeah, it only shows the new color because we want it to be faster.
Color one is blue, so I tap blue.
And it's more difficult also.
So I tap blue and yellow, and when you're like getting drunk, it's just impossible to play this game. Like that, and yeah, exactly. So for example, if I miss, so I have 9 sips to take because it's the pure version. It's like a ridiculous amount of alcohol.
So
why is it 9?
Because
it's an
it's it's depending on like which mood and how many turn, like how many colors you're able to.
And can you win with you?
Yes, you can win, but you have to go at 20.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so we're done. I mean, we did the 20 minutes.
So we got all the mini games. The only thing is when you go to the end of the game, it's gonna bring you to a stat, and then you can go to the main menu and replay if you want.
Yeah. So just to conclude, I mean, he actually got drunk with this app, and it's working. Give him too.
And so can.
We are really looking forward, because I don't have an Android cell phone, so I can't. But we are looking forward to. I mean, I will probably like install it on one of my friends' device, and I look forward to really enjoying this app because I think it's really. I mean, it's interacting and it's fun to play. So, I mean, I hope you all enjoyed our application.
Kind of stuff.
Alright, great you guys. Me and Steven Smith is going to present to our integrated project called King Glory. It is a RTS game. Let's go through quickly for the outline of the game. So I'm going to represent the team, the idea of the game, the story behind the game, the resources we have used for the game, some mechanic, the demonstration of the game, and then finally. So, Steven Smith is the server and database designer in our team, and me, I'm focusing on the visual and interface of the game.
Alright, so the main idea of the game is, as my partner said, it's an RTS game, so it's in real time, and it's also a strategy game. We got inspired from games like Civilization, Age of Empires, and other games like Ivani on mobile and also on desktop, and other games on Android and iOS, such as Kingdoms of Camelot. Pretty much how you play the game is that you log in and you have like an inventory city with your keep, your castle. You have to build around it, build your garrisons, to store troops, your barracks, make troops, your warehouse, you protect your resources from other players. So the story of the game is pretty much the actual story for the game, and then I'll talk about how we came up with the idea. So the story is that there's this country or province called Piastria, which is just a made-up name, and it's a very typical story for that kind of game where the emperor or the king got assassinated, and now all the lords in the realm are uprising and trying to take over pretty much the throne. So you, the user, are one of those lords fighting against the other players who are the other lords, and by fighting you'll gain a score which will help you go up in your rankings. How we came up with the game is that most RTS games of this type nowadays are pay to win. For example, they are free to play, but they have in-game stores where you can spend real money to buy troops and buy other objects. It just gives you tremendous advantages against the other ones who are just trying to enjoy the free game.
So I present you the resource we have used for this project. The netting is for the basic coding, and Steven has used MySQL, Hikari CP, and Java Mail in order to perform in the database and server. So me, I'm using Pen2Sci and Photoshop to make the interface and also the GUI. So I'll explain that later. So
later I'll also explain how these tools actually play a significant role in the mechanics of the game. So in terms of mechanics, if you take a look at the database, we've used MySQL because it's a simple SQL relational database that is well documented in our school material. The reason why we want a relational database is that we have a lot of values which are all related to the user ID of the actual account table. For example, if you take a look at the account table, which is this one right here, we have the email and the user ID, which are unique. So they can't have two user ID or two emails that are the same in the same table. So in this case, since everything refers back to those email and those user IDs, you can't have two players with two accounts with the same IDs, which makes sense, right? Because then you pretty much be having yourself twice in the game. And then there's one table on here, which was an added table for an optional feature that we want to implement, which is the chat table. It's near the end. We haven't had the time to implement this optional feature, unfortunately. It may come in a further version of the game. The Hickory CP is a connection pool API, which comes in handy because I don't know if many of you use MySQL or any database. It's kind of hard to manage how many connections you actually have running at a given time. So if you're sloppy maybe, then you could have forgotten to close a connection somewhere on the thread, and then surprise you run the game and overload your connections in MySQL. Well, Hickory CP manages all that, helps you reuse those connections, but also makes it easier for you to output which connections are available and how many are actually being used at any given time. The server mechanics. So the way we design the server is that the client interacts with the server computer, so my desktop, which contains three major threads. The object input-output port that is in charge of sending objects to the client and receiving. The main port, which takes care of 90% of the operations that occur between the client and the server, such as logging, credentials, upgrading, building, etc. And the battle port takes care of pretty much everything that's battle related, so they can care of doing the simulations for a fight when two armies cross, etc. The way the server actually works is that it's pretty much an infinite loop in a thread until the connection is reset or the connection is lost, where then the user is disconnected from the server and removed from the active users. And in that infinite loop, pretty much what it does is that it asks for a string as a UTF format, and depending on the string it receives, it executes various different commands, such as maybe outputting to client the amount of resources the player currently has, or the amount of troops being trained, or the time left for a certain attack to occur. The server also uses a Java API to add a level of security when registering or changing your password. It requires you to send to your email a verification code to verify that your email actually exists and that it's actually you trying to register or change your password. Another mechanics is the actual game controls. So being a point and click really RTS game, 90% of interaction will be done through the mouse, where you click on a button and you get new pane, or you do certain actions, or you move a slider, and it's all point interactions. And then you have the keyboard for manual inputs, such as your login information, your password, registration.
So I will explain the GUI. So I've used a program called Pi2Site for drawing the outline of the image. Basically, this software is very used to drawing line for each building. And then after drawing the outline of the image, I put the image into the Adobe Photoshop to add some texture and special effect to the image. So that will basically finish the GUI and also the interface of the game.
Also, another thing with the underdegree, since we have so many actual panes and it would just be useless to put them all one by one in the PowerPoint, we'll go in more in-depth demonstration or actually using the game. So here, again on the actual design, I've presented you the UML diagrams for our army and our actual troop units. So the archer, warrior, and cavalry classes implement the unit interface, which defines basic actions that these classes can do. And the army class is really the class that we work the most with in actually doing the battles, since it stores the amount of troops, the actual who's attacking, is an attacker, is a defender. And it's composed of an archer, warrior, and cavalry class. Only for reference purposes, you just need to be able to go get the min, max attack values, which will be explained furthermore on the next slide. So our major algorithm, which is mathematically based, is our recursive fighting algorithm. Since it's a major component of the game, because if you can't fight, then you can't go up in rank, so you defy the purpose of the game. And since fights can be relatively big, we need to develop an algorithm which is really efficient and can go through an entire battle in less than a second, so that the server can do the battle, send the report back to the user as quickly as possible. And we also introduced luck as where the minimum and maximum attack damage each unit deals comes in. Since when attacking, let's say you attack with 50 archers, then you will have a random damage happening between the minimum and a maximum that will be generated for all 50 archers. So you can fight 5 times with the exact same amount of each unit, but you might get 5 different reports. They won't always be different since it's generated, and sometimes you might get 2 or 3 that are the same. But it can make a difference between very close fights where you win by, let's say, 3 troops surviving, or actually losing and having the other guy have 2 guys left. So the last year we learned about the time efficiency constant and how to represent algorithms. However, because this algorithm, as I said, has some luck and is very complex in terms that we don't really know how many iterations will take place for any given end. But however, by testing, we know that the actual time it takes to complete the entire algorithm for any amount of troops is always greater than log n, but it's much more efficient than n, so it sits somewhere in between. This is an example of how the rounds work. Each iteration actually goes through 3 rounds. The defender always starts the attack, well, the damage. So from round 1, for example, you have the defender's archers, which will hit the cavalry if available. If there's no cavalry, then it will hit the knight and then the archers. And then the same thing is true for the attacking side. After the defender's attack, we actually look at the defender's cavalry, then the knight and the archers in whichever order they're present. Round 2 and round 3 goes with the same methodology, except that you would have the cavalry and the knight actually performing the damage. So what can you expect from the game? You can expect a pleasing graphical interface with graphics that meets the industry standards. A competitive environment, because the algorithm was developed, so yes, there's an advantage to defenders, which makes sense since they have a city to help them defend. But the results are actually quite close, and the closer your army are to your enemy, the closer the results get. And you get satisfaction with every victory, and you get a chance to blame the algorithm if you lost, as you lost and the other guy had 1 archer left. So Ming will go through a basic demonstration of the game.
So here we have the login pad, which the user input their username and password in order to access the game. But I don't have any account. What should I do? I should click on the bottom. Register. Is it connected? Oh, we should register. So I should go to register account in order to access the game. So let's go. We click about to register. I input some username.
While he does that, I do want to explain that due to Wi-Fi signaling low, I don't know if the system will actually time out trying to send email or not. Obviously due to the internet performances. If not, then I have 2 other accounts that are ready to send them to.
So I input some password and the confirmation password should match. The both should match. So I input the email address. Quickly send verification code in order to have a confirmation code for the email.
Put it down.
Alright, we got email from the host.
For the purpose of the project, I created a new Gmail account that I call no reply to Joey at gmail.com. So because obviously I don't use my personal email to send confirmation codes.
So basically you need to copy down the confirmation code and input inside of here in order to finish the registration.
Yes. So when registration is completed, the game will close, bringing you back to the login screen.
Actually, no password. But sadly, if the user forgot the password, they can also reset the password through the email address. Through the email address they register in our game. For example, here, if you forgot password.
It will also at the same time provide the user ID or the username of the account linked to that email.
Same from the registration, we include this confirmation code inside, and there's some extra stuff for process to see if the code is right or not. So code verify. That's included in the password. So successfully changed password. So now I can log in through my new password if I forgot my old one. Is that right? Is it sound?
Yes, actually.
Is it great? Oh yeah, I've got you. Yes.
Well, at the same time, you still have to show that if you enter the wrong username, it doesn't exist. The database actually picks it up on the server and outputs that your username is incorrect. During the loading screen, there's actually many things being initialized, such as any progress bar, training bar, and anything that may be ongoing from the server.
Okay. Okay, first off first, there's so many features I want to present to you guys. Okay, I'll just explain the scene. So this one basically represent the inner city, which we have the main castle in the city, and it generates gold over time.
Yeah, you can actually see the resources actively over time, and later I'll manually change the variables in the database, so you can actually change it not even a second.
Okay, so next we have the field, which represents our city of the game. This is where the player, this is where the building, oh wait, how can I say that? This is where they generate resource over time. For example, we have the sawmill here, the farm, the quarry, and the iron mine here.
For purpose of demonstration, since we only have 500 resources and we want to show as many things as possible, we've removed all resource costs off upgrading resource buildings, and because we modified the value so that the incrementation in the actual production is very exponential, so that you see a huge difference happening immediately without having to wait a long time and spending a tremendous amount of resources, since we only have 10 minutes to present.
Next thing we have the work. Yeah, just create one first. Or wait. So as you notice, there's some empty spot for the player to create some building. So let's create one. Let's choose garrison first. After the you guys maybe notice there's a progress bar running out. After the progress bar finish, the building is going to appear on the here. So let me build another one. Alright. So Barak needs like this one's more like obvious. This one needs more time than the garrison.
And I think you've also noticed the resources going down in real time as you upgrade their building.
So where is troops? Okay. Do I have it now? So our explain on garrison. Garrison is where we store the troops. So after generating some troops, we can see the number is going to be increased inside of it. So Barak obviously is for training the troops. So let's train. Okay. Do that. Let's check if we have enough resources for that. Okay.
See, so when you try to upgrade a building or train troops and you don't have enough resources, due to lack of time, you hadn't had time to add the actual icons to the pane. But it won't pop up a notification telling that you can't do this, you don't have the resources to do that.
Okay. What? Okay, so let's upgrade some building to have like higher production rate for the. Oh, I will have it go.
Since we're out of resources, open MySQL to create to add ourselves resources. So accessing our database gives me access to all the values in the database. So I can update the player table to unlock goals. Set that to, let's say, 1,000 for all the users, which should take effect immediately. As you see, our goal went up immediately to 1,000. Since we're running out of time, we really need to show you guys the fighting system. We'll make 2 archers for the purpose of just attacking. This will take around 50 seconds to complete. But while that is ongoing, I can show you guys that we can also upgrade resource field buildings such as the farm, which will increase the production rate once completed. And that production rate is 2,500 per hour.
And once the resource building gets higher level, the building, the visual is going to change to the images become like fancier.
Yeah, for example, the farm, every building once it reaches level 3 has a different artwork, just slightly bigger. See, the artwork changes here as well as here. Both farms are actually taller than they used to be. And while we're waiting for the archers to finish, we'll return to the city, where we have our key, which is also our main production for gold. You can see that in our garrison, we have our 2 archers we've just produced. If we want, we can remove, let's say, 1, and it will remove it. But we cannot remove 2, for example, or 3, since we will be removing more than what we have. Also on the world map, it places all the other players that are also in the game. So for example, I have 2 pre-existing accounts. Master Hyperion 98 and Hyperion. As you can see, my main account now currently has a score of 500, and Hyperion has a score of negative 500. Obviously, you've seen that Hyperion 98 won all fights. So that if, let's say, me were to attack, if he selects his own castle, he cannot attack himself. But he can attack another player, let's say Hyperion, and he can assign all the troops he has to his 1 archer and attack. If you want to try to attack again, for example, he has. Oh, it already finished. Yeah. So since it already finished, we got a troop back.
and in our mail we got a fighting report. So this tells us that we've stolen 252 gold, 249 food, and all of these extra resources from that player, and we gained a score of 100, and we have one troop that survived since there was nothing to fight. So if you verify this, we see that Sangling actually had a score of 100, and that Hyperion lost that 100 scores, so it's now to negative 600. In the options, we can change the sound if you want, or we can change it down to a windowed mode as well. And that pretty much covers all the main functions of our game. Since we're running out of time, that's about it.
You can stop.
Alright, so we'll be talking about our application, our game, which is called AF1, which stands for Arena Fighter 1. So the overview, our game is a top-down physics-based arena fighting game, which means, it's a top-down view, so you see it as an eagle eye view, and you just see the head of the players, which are circles, fighting one another. So it's a single player game. At first we thought of maybe implementing 2 players control, but since we wanted to have mouse control in it, we decided to only have a single player game. So there's 4 players in total, 3 of which are AI fighters. Their goal is to knock out all the opponents off the map to win a round, and then you either have to win 3, 5, or 10 rounds in order to win the whole match. It's a standalone executable jar file, which means it's a standalone application as if it was a game that you would download from Steam. So we have it on our USB key. We could give it to any of you and you could run it directly from the USB key without having to download any other type of programs except having JVM, which is a Java virtual machine, which you already have if you have Java on your computer. So the programs we used, the platform is Windows. So even though we're using Android Studio as our IDE, which is mainly made for Android, we decided to do on Windows because we didn't want to fumble around with Android tablets or cell phones. And we thought that the touch screen wouldn't be a good option for us to have accurate control in the game. So the game engine we use is libgdx. Libgdx is mainly made for Android-based game. So most mobile games that you see on Android will be made with libgdx. And even though we made it with libgdx, it still has support for desktop application, so it worked on Windows too. All the textures and artistic aspect of the game was made with Photoshop, so everything you see that's visually represented on the screen was manually made in Photoshop. So first, we'll talk about the states. A state is basically a screen or a page that you see in our game. So, for example, in JavaFX, you would have pane. Like Etienne's group said earlier, they would have activities. But for our game, how it works is with state. Because it's state, how we can interact with it, it renders images to the screen. And it's also able to manage information to update at a specific rate for us to have a constant frame rate. So, like I said, it holds all the visual elements in order for us to see the player, the menu, and stuff like that. Then we have the game state manager. The game state manager, what it does is it creates a stack of all the states, and it cycles through the stacks in order to interact with the game. So at first you see the menu screen, and when you click play, it brings you to the setup screen. Afterwards, it brings you to the play screen, etc. So that would be an example of a state. That is our menu state. So as you can see, we have the title. We have each of these are text, which we created in Photoshop, but we've assigned them as textures, and these textures have bounds, which we'll explain later. which lets us interact with these said text. So we have the play option, credits, and exit. Exit will quit the application. If you click play, play will bring you to the setup state. Here in the setup state, you can decide, well, right now on this screen it's not represented, but you would have a play button here and a back button here if you didn't want to play right now, for example. So here you can decide which map type you want. So you can either decide the rectangular, the circular, or play both of them alternatively. You can decide the difficulty of the AI, so we have easy, medium, and hard mode, and the amount of win that you want to achieve to win the game. So that's an example of the play state. Once you would click play, that's during the game, so the round has already started, and players are already moving around the map. So that would be the circular map. All the players have 0. If all of them except one would die, then one player would get a point. The option state. In the option state, you can access it from either the main menu or from inside the game. So here you can control whether or not you want to have the music, the sound effects, and the video effects toggled on or off. Unfortunately, we weren't able to implement video effects because we didn't really first have time to do it, and we didn't see. At first, we thought it would be useful, but afterwards, adding blur to our characters and stuff, we didn't really think it was necessary. That would be the credit state, so that just tells you who created the project, etc., etc. If you were to win the game, you would have the win state, which tells you it changes depending on which player won. And now it's the white player that won, and it's his sprite that's displayed.
So now we're going to present you a demo of our game. If anyone would like to volunteer, do we have any volunteers? Etienne, come on. Etienne, what is your first course of action on this main menu?
I'll go and see the options.
All right, by all means. There's no sound right now, it's muted. It's fine, it's fine.
So let's play.
So you can decide which one.
What is both?
Both means that you start with either the circular or the rectangular, and one's around ends equal to the.
I would recommend keeping it as is for a first round. Alright, so just before you start, I'm going to tell you your controls are WASD to move. The space bar will give you a dash in a direction, and if you want to ram an opponent, left click in their direction.
Okay. So I am the white?
You are the white.
What is going
The AIs have absolutely no chill. They will absolutely
destroy them.
Isn't there like a dodge?
There is a dodge button.
Yeah, well, the space is the dodge, and the dash is like
So right now the AIs are on easy, so you can see that what the difficulty does is it increases the delay on the action. So you see they pause sometimes and just wait around. Easy gives you up to 500 milliseconds of free time when they won't do anything. Hard mode will give you they never stop moving and have no delay.
So now 3-1-1 goes to the next round, and countdown starts again.
Drop bitches.
Do
not double click.
We didn't put at first we thought of putting a restriction on the left click, but afterwards we figured out that it's better if we just leave the player control himself, because often they'll die and they'll learn from their own mistake and they'll stop using the left click as much as So now green player has one, you can go back to the first player. Then you can go check whatever you want to check.
They're gonna go absolutely crazy on you, just you watch.
So now there's no delay in their like way of thinking. There's no delay in their way of thinking, so they'll automatically switch between actions as soon as they can. So if there's another volunteer that might think that he'd be better than Etienne,
Je vais essayer, mais nous, je suis plus bon jeu. Je vais essayer.
Yeah, what just happened when they spin around, that's because of your collision system. So the way it works is if both players go in like parallel direction and they hit like both their sides, the collision will result in having them like colliding many times in a row, making them spin around.
Wait, can you put the music on?
You guys want music?
Yeah. You want to hear the music?
There's a nice click power.
Steven, on peut-tu prendre ta barre de son? Ouais. Guys, on va prendre la barre de son à Steven. Steven's soundbar. Nice.
So now we have the sound.
Is that hard? Yeah, go for it. Do it. Sweet.
Ça va te permettre de dash en fait.
C'est quoi ça?
Non, ça c'est un dodge, la space. Ça, c'est tu peux pointer puis dash.
Oui, il est classique.
You can go to the option and toggle it off if you want. So wherever your mouse points, if you click it.
You have to control it.
It's very difficult to control.
Yeah, at first you gotta get used to it. And also having it like switched over.
Can one of you guys try it?
Yeah, I can try.
You want to see the pro?
Yeah, are you good?
I've never played it reverse though, so I can't tell you. So here in options, if you don't want the music anymore, you can toggle it off.
We want it.
I'll go in the circular map to show you.
C'est hard.
Oh,
it's hard.
So yeah, sometimes what happens, as you could see the first time we played in the circular map, we weren't able to make the bounds always perfect because there's a random aspect to it. So sometimes they'll just wander off the map, but especially more on the circular than on the ribbon.
I feel like we've reached an appropriate demo length here.
So here we have the credits options.
And all of this is run from an executable on the desktop. We just placed it there just now and it runs just
So
fine.
you don't need to receive our code or anything, everything's set up.
Bravo.
Bah, félicitations.
Yeah, because we pretty much explained already the inputs. Well, basically how the inputs are made is with key presses and mouse clicks. Yeah, bounds, I'm just gonna explain that quickly. So mouse clicks, how they do it is when you click somewhere, the game engine lets you store your click position in the 2D vector. Then if you have like a button, like the play button or something, the code is gonna check if your vector was contained inside the bounds of that texture. And if it was, then it'll do the task that you did. And like, as you saw, all the toggle buttons, they were not buttons that you could take from JavaFX or something. We did it all manually with our own system of just creating textures that would toggle on and off whether you clicked on the texture or not. Sprites, these are like the players, the maps and stuff like that. The constructs are what are behind the maps and the fighters. So like the fighters, you never really see it because it's a parent class to player fighters and AI fighters, and the map manager is the one which switches between the two maps.
Alright, so the physics was the element that I worked on for this project, along with the AI system itself. Physics are broken down into forces and impact. Basically, the way that it works is that forces are any kind of constant motion that your players will make. So, for example, just like moving up, down, left, right, and diagonally, those are all applied to force objects. All movement in the game from just WASD is handled by only 4 force objects on all the fighters. Impacts are basically just like a sudden brisk movement. So it redirects your player according to certain things. So for example, your dash attack is considered an impact. You're taking an impact from behind, flying towards your opponent. Anytime you collide, that also is an impact. All of the physics are handled by a thread which has a very long and lengthy name called Energy and Force Manager Thread, which is called EAFMT for short. Basically what this does is it takes all the fighters that are currently in the match, it reads their current net force that is acting upon them. Their acceleration, velocities, and positions are then adjusted accordingly, and then it updates console side of the code to redisplay the correct location. And one of the neat little attributes of this particular program is that the player and AI fighters actually have the exact same identical controls. Where the player fighter just binds the controls to the keyboard and mouse. There are 3 methods called walk, dodge, and dash that are bound to space, WASD, and left click. And AI fighters are instead assigned tasks which simulate exactly what the player would do instead and use the same methods. And the AI control thread is basically the player for AIs. It takes tasks from, it just generates its own tasks. Go on to the next slide. Which basically tell it and instruct it what to do. So that all of the AI that you saw just now was represented by 3 separate tasks called go to position, approach fighter, and dash, which each respectively are just random movement or approaching a fighter or dashing towards a target. And the AI task cycle, the AI, and then once it's completed a task, it's within a certain range of its target, it will go ahead and assign itself a new task. And funnily enough is that the way that this works is that it puts itself on a cooldown for dashing, so you don't get dashed too much. And what it does is if it has a position task, it has a 20% chance of moving to approach fighter. And then once it's close enough to a fighter, then it dashes. It has a surprisingly simple algorithm considering how effective it was in defeating the players. And funnily enough is that this also can be represented by a Markov chain, which we saw in linear, and this was before we even saw that, so, you know.
So basically the AI seems very complicated, but it's weird how simple the brain behind their action is, because it's only 3 options that it can choose. So that's the end, but to conclude, what we're proud of in our application is mainly the visual aspect and the AI, even though it doesn't seem maybe as complex as some other projects which requires databases and other stuff like that. We spent a lot of time of customizing it to make it the experience that we wanted it to be, as much visually as physics-based. A lot of options were already out there for us to choose an already existing physics system, but Steven here created his own, and we created our own visual aspects to make it our own personal character.
Alright, so hi everybody. For our project, we decided to go the unoriginal route and create a game. And so our game is Tanks. So basically our goal behind making our game is just we wanted to have fun creating something that we were going to have fun playing afterwards. And me and Will were both gamers, if you want. We play a lot of games, and so we thought that making a game was going to be fun throughout the whole semester, and we hope that other people were going to have fun playing it too. We also wanted to incorporate some physics and some math. Those aspects of the game will be explained a bit more later on during our presentation. We really want to create our own physics. We didn't want to rely on any other software to do it for us. We wanted to create it from scratch using JavaFX and NetBeans, and we wanted to use our own mathematical and physical functions, as you'll see later. We wanted to make it challenging for us, like I said, to create a game and have fun, and make it challenging for players so that they have to use strategy and thinking, and it's not just shoot and try to kill other opponents. You can actually use different techniques to win the game. And we wanted to make a multiplayer game because single-player games sometimes they tend to get a bit boring. So when you can play with friends, you can have different techniques. You can play against different strategies, and it makes it more diverse. And we wanted to be fun.
Yeah, so the programs that we use to create our program is NetBeans because it easily incorporates the JavaFX elements and it can easily compile and execute any JavaFX applications. Cedric used GIMP to create all the artwork in the game. So as you'll see soon, all the artwork in the game are made by us. They're not taken from Google or some other website. It's handmade.
Also, I would have preferred to use Photoshop, but I didn't have any money in it, so I used GIMP instead.
GIMP, which is similar to Photoshop, but it's free.
So we thought that the best way to explain and show the game is to actually have it running instead of on PowerPoint. So Will is gonna let us watch it.
I'll just with the PowerPoint. I'll put the sound on.
Okay, so I'm gonna have the speakers, but basically there's a song going through on the loop throughout the game. So this is our main menu. This is the first menu you see when you get in. So everything here is handmade. Basically, you have a background, and anything interactive that you can interact with it is its own object. So every button is an image. It's an image view basically that we used. And the way we did, like when you hover over it, it becomes darker. It's just basically the image. We have 3 different images for a button. There's the button image, the button hover, and then the button click. And every time there's a different action on the button, the image switches image view. So it's very simple in fact. You have the mute button on the bottom. So that's available throughout every single pane. And then the help button is available in the main menu and in the pause menu once you're inside the game. That is basically, it gives you instructions on the controls of the game and how the game generally works. So you can close it.
Here, just show the mute button.
So that is all the sounds. And yeah, so that's basically it. For every menu, basically we have a main menu manager pane, and every menu is a different pane it's a different pane on itself. Yeah. And when we press play or we press a button to switch menus, we just change the pane in the scene. So it just cycles through like that, and we have an index to keep track of all the keys. So if you press play, then this is the second menu, so that's the number of players. This is where you choose how many players you want to play in the game. And use the arrows to choose menu. So choose 4. We wanted to limit the players so that you can write how many players you wanted. It was easier to take away all the risk of possible errors. So we just decided to have them be able to use the arrow keys instead. So as you can see, the new button is available throughout all the menus. So next. So this is the next pane. This is where you select your country. Basically, the way the game works is there are 4 different possible teams. North Korea, if you cycle through, you have North Korea, you have USA, you have Canada, and you have China. And every player can choose one after the other which team he wants to play for. Every time you choose a team, that team is going to be taken off the list. So if right now you press next, you chose that's the team you wanted to choose. Now North Korea is not a possible option. You can also change your name at the top. So you can change the name, and you can set that player as an AI if you want. So if you're alone and you want to play against computers, you have the possibility of doing so. Once you like everything, you can press next for the next player. Press next until you've chosen everything for every players, and once it's reached the last player, you press next again, and it's going to switch to the next pane. And if you click on the arrows, you'll see that it doesn't do anything because it's the only possible choice left. So press next. Finally, this is the map menu selection. This is where you select which map you want to be on. Every map has 2 special variables, which is the gravity. No, sorry, 1 special variable, which is the gravity. And so some maps, if you cycle through, we have 4 maps: desert, mountains, space, and Arctic, and the snow. And all these maps have their own gravity. And so desert has a normal Earth-like gravity if you want. And mountains the same. He has a bit higher, I think. And then space has a very low gravity because you're out in outer space. And so right here you have all the players playing, and you have their respective teams just to make sure that everything's all right. And then you can press play when you're ready.
So do I go with the space with the low gravity? Okay. Well, now as you can see, the first thing that you can see in the game is the hills that are being generated. each game is randomly generated. So if we create a new game, the hills is going to be completely different. So that changes the style of gameplay from game to game. So for example, here the blue tank could decide to go on top of the hill and have a more general control of the game. How I did that is just, it's a signed function, and then with that I say, okay, well, where in the paint should it start? It's 0 point. One cycle of the signed function should take how many pixels? So the higher it is, the flatter it's gonna be, and the amplitude of the hill. So the higher the amplitude hill is, the higher it's gonna be on the map. After that, we had to, the complexity is creating a texture for the hill. Since it's randomly generated, you cannot just make a texture for all the possible outcomes of a generation. So what we did is that we created one texture that is the size of the entire paint, in case that, well, the hills is bigger. And once that's done, is I take that image and I rewrite the entirety of it. So it's a for loop within a for loop, and it checks, okay, so right now at my current pixel, is it underneath the hill? If yes, then it's gonna write from the texture. If ever it's above the hill, then it's gonna write it as a transparent pixel. So it creates the illusion that here there's a background and here there's the hill. So it allows to create a texture for all the possible outcomes of such a generation. So the next thing is the tank movement. So right now, as you can see, it's the blue tank's turn. So I can decide to move like that. And if ever I click on the right key, it's gonna move to the right, and the tank's turn's gonna be over. So basically how we did that is that instead of taking the position, which was much more complex and resource intensive, we decided to just go with the velocity. Doing so allowed to just simply take the displacement and add the velocity, so the function .translate would automatically adjust its new position with it. If ever the tank or the weapon, as we'll see after, is above the hills, it's gonna decrease its Y position by the gravity, which is just like in real life. If ever you throw an object in the air, its Y velocity is gonna decrease because of gravity. So I'll just do I'll show. So right now, okay, it's green's turn. So also, as you can see, the cannons are separate from the tanks, and they can rotate based on it.
So basically, there are two different textures overlapping each other.
And also to make sure that the tanks, their texture are tangent to the hills, all we did was simply take the derivative of the sine function, which gives the rotation at which you should rotate your texture to make it that it's parallel to the hill, instead of always being flat, which is not realistic.
So before we'll get into the actual gameplay, I just want to explain a bit the heads-up display. So basically, that just displays all the information that is useful to the player, and it updates for every turn, and it displays the information of that current player's turn. So as you can see right now, it's my turn, and I'm the green tank. The first section there, where it says normal, so that's my weapons array, and that is all the weapons that are in my inventory. So far I didn't buy anything, so you start off with the default round, so the normal round, and if you press like you just did on the arrow key, it doesn't do anything because I don't have anything. same thing underneath. These are my special items. These items include repair tools, shields, repair tools and shields. And same thing is going to appear there if I buy some. You start off with nothing. And the not available is going to turn into a number when I do buy one. And the use button is to use it, basically. So this is a store layout. So right now I only have one repair tool, so it's the only one available. If you go buy another one, so we'll buy a tool. There's two. So that's it. On the right side, you have the gravity. So as you can see, 0.01. It's not the gravity. Even if we go to the other mass where it's Earth-like gravity, it's not going to be the 9.8 that you see in physics class because it wouldn't work with the variables that we use for the coding. So it's just the 0.01 is a very light gravity. You're going to see when we're going to fire. And wind resistance is basically resistance on your shot. So right now it's at 0 because there's no wind in outer space, but on other maps, which we'll show after, the wind resistance changes randomly every turn, so it adds a little difficulty to the game. And basically at 50%, you need 50% more power to reach the same destination. If you go to the store, this is the store layout. We started off with a lot of money because we wanted to show you what we could, like, everything we could buy. But usually you start with a lot less money, and you make money by landing shots, killing enemies, and you also get money by skipping your turn, which you can also do by pressing the key. So if you hover, these are all our items. These are all weapons. Armor and engine are special items. If you buy armor, it's going to increase your health. If you purchase engine, it's going to increase the movement you have, so when you move, you're going to move further. Mine and C4 are special. The mine is just you drop it on the ground, and the next time someone passes over it, it's going to blow up. And C4 car is basically when you shoot it, it's going to drive around until it reaches somebody and explode.
Here, I'll do a demo of the C4 car.
Because he shot it right on
since the red tank is not the same as the green tank, the car exploded once it hit the red tank because it's not an ally, it's an enemy.
If you go back to store, in the middle you have the description of every item. So if you hover over the buy button for an item, it's going to give you the cost, the damage, and how it reacts to the environment. For the special items, it's just the cost, the value. So let's say the repair tool is going to give you 25% health, 50% health, and 75% health, and it heals your tank. If you don't have enough money, an error is going to pop up, so just buy a bunch. So insufficient funds, there's the insufficient funds error, and for the shields, there's an order. If you buy a small shield, you can only buy medium and large, you cannot buy small again. It lasts for the whole game. If you buy a medium shield, you will not be able to buy a small shield since it's lower. You can only buy higher.
Here, as you can see around the health bar, it switched to yellow to indicate that you've bought a shield. Well, the small shield. If I buy a medium shield, it's going to switch to purple, and if I buy a large shield, then it's going to switch to red. And if I try to buy the small one, well, okay, what
now it's insufficient funds, but if you started, it would say item unavailable because you've already bought a higher shield.
I'll give an example here. I'll buy the red one, then I'll try to buy the yellow one. It's going to say item unavailable. Okay, so I'll show you the physics of the game. So here, depending on what angle my tank is, and also the angle of the hill, it's gonna project it. And also here, the further to the right you click on the progress bar, the more powerful it's gonna throw the object. So here, since we're in space, we don't need a lot of force, so I'll go with a small force. As you can see, the gravity is quite low.
You see, that was the AI firing. Sometimes it takes a long time to shoot, sometimes it takes not a long time. So.
And also, as you can see, I'll take a bigger object to show you more properly, but the object also rotates depending on where it is on its trajectory.
We don't have a lot of time left, so. Might not be able to see that.
Oh.
Because it's black. It's,
oh yeah. Well, anyway, go on.
Just before finishing, we'll show the save function. You can also save one game at a time. Every save is going to override the last save.
Yeah, I just want to show the sound it does when you save. So if I decide whatever, like my computer is running out of battery and closes, and I've successfully saved, I can quit the game. Oh, I could have pressed exit, which exits the game too. Run it back, and then click load, and it's gonna load the game where it is, with all my objects, my life points. Everything is set back to more normal. The usernames are stored too.
And I'm pretty sure we covered everything.
Hi everyone, my name is Jan Balan, and together with Owen Brousseau, we made an application for Android called BBOE, which makes start of the semester book purchasing easy. Unfortunately, Owen is not here today. However, he filmed his part of the presentation that we're going to watch now before I'm continuing with the rest of it, and then we will gonna do the demo.
BiblioGeek, making start of semester book purchasing easy. My name is Owen Brousseau, and you are here today with my partner, Johan Balan. Unfortunately, I couldn't be present with you two today, but hopefully this video can compensate this fact. Johan and I are both the co-founders and co-CTOs of BiblioGeek. The application served as the integrative project in our CEGEP program, Computer Science and Mathematics, at Champlain College, St. Lambert. BiblioGeek is an Android application that offers a simple, pleasant platform that facilitates transactions of books and school course packs for college students. Buyers can go on the application to find the item they're looking for, and they can do so by choosing different searching options offered to them. Sellers, on the other hand, can put their items for sale by simply filling out a page necessary information concerning it, and can customize their post by adding a picture of the book and specifying its condition and price. Realistically, anyone can use this application. It is especially designed for students because we were conscious of the numerous complex issues with purchasing and selling books at beginnings of semesters. At the dawn of every semester, students at Champlain College, St. Lambert run everywhere around school trying to find the required books and course packs for their classes, all at the best price possible. The majority of them aren't looking for new products, but rather for temporary books from which they can spend a small amount of money for purchase. Sadly, many of them actually end up having no other choice but to buy an urgently needed book at an overvalued cost. If that's not bad enough, the bookstore constantly becomes too crowded and lacks the necessary material. Many students and alumni also jam the halls trying to complete transactions, selling their old material from past semesters. They run around posting advertisements that rarely bring any response if put on some distant wall in the college that is already invaded with posters. Or, if posted on social media sites such as Facebook, the unsuccessfulness remains because many of the users are not interested in viewing advertisements. Currently, a public group on Facebook called Champlain Used Books is available to the students who wish to establish such transactions, but it is far from being practical. This is mainly due to the fact that the page is filled with posts of people looking for and selling books that are irrelevant to most members. That being said, specifically finding what you are searching for becomes a tedious task. In these periods of struggles, the sellers, the buyers, and our plan itself are all losers because there is a clear lack of communication between the client and the seller. Indeed, not being able to purchase used books can put students and their families in financial difficulty, while increasing every involved person's ecological footprint. In sum, the time when students must buy and sell their school books is always an overly complicated and unpractical period of the year. There must be a simpler solution through technology. This is where our application comes into the picture. BiblioGeek serves as a public advertisement platform for college students who want to sell and purchase any book or course packs available. The process of posting an advertisement is greatly simplified from the pinboard publicities and Facebook displays. On top of that, students save a precious amount of time in their hunt for their course material, as the application makes it practical for them to search for a specific book, while also sorting the results according to different criteria. Not to mention that BiblioGeek is not only limited to the books in the scope of Champlain College St. Lambert. In fact, posting any book or any course pack is doable at the click of a button for absolutely anyone, after simply filling out information on their publication. Although users will not be able to chat online with each other through the app, users will be able to contact each other in the form of preset messages that will be received as notifications. They can exchange phone numbers and convenient times for conversing and or meeting. Nothing to worry about in terms of privacy risks. This, again, returns to our main format inspiration of the public publicity board, writing your contact information and your advertisement exactly as if you were posted on a pinboard in school hallways. Of course, except the fact that you don't need to print anything anymore, nor run every day around to check whether it's still hanging. From an ecological standpoint, BiblioGeek is a great solution to the current situation of book selling, as it encourages their reusage, thus contributing to a healthier planet with more trees. For buyers, comparing prices or simply searching for an offer is no longer complicated and time-consuming. The application will provide you with the option of sorting the existing offers with a variety of criteria, and if nothing is at that time currently available, the application will notify you when your book of interest will be posted. BiblioGeek is the solution to the current problem in book purchasing and selling for college students. The current problems, as explained earlier, make it difficult for students to obtain their necessary course material. By being conscious of the fact that the new generation of students use technology to help themselves make it through their educational path, letting them take care of book purchasing and selling through an application is the most important goal of our project. In order for students to choose our application as a means to their end, BiblioGeek must provide a secure environment for inter-user interactions and against external villains, and this is another one of the system's objectives. Today, most use applications are actually the ones that receive the public's absolute trust, and BiblioGeek recognizes this correlation. Next, BiblioGeek's goal is to provide buyers with simple searching tools so they can save precious time. That said, letting users customize their searches, such as searching in a specific city, finding a book based on its category, etc., accomplishes just that because the process is simplified, which cuts time too. Finally, providing sellers with a competitive environment where there always exists a place to post a new product is also one of BiblioGeek's main goals. This advantages both the buyer and the seller. As a matter of fact, creating a competitive environment by making BiblioGeek the go-to app ultimately brings the price of the books down. For the sellers, knowing that BiblioGeek is the application to use when it comes to these transactions for buyers, they can trust it to post all their school material and sell. Lastly, the fact that the application can eventually be deployed on Google Play makes it attractive because it signifies potential. We can now move on to the part where you have probably been waiting for the most, the app's features and design. The first slide shows the login page on the left, the registration page in the middle, and the picture on the right is an example of user authentication, where the user receives a confirmation number via email upon successful registration. Next, upon successfully entering the confirmation number, the user will be able to log in. If the user forgets its password, it can click on the Forgot Password text and enter the necessary information, including the security question to which they must answer, to be sent an email containing the lost password. Once the user is logged in, it can log out anytime by pressing on the top right icon where the following dialog will appear. The user can access its notifications by clicking the button on the main menu. Then, it can access its unread new ones, its read ones, the one he or she sent, and finally, the user can edit the ones he has or she has sent to the other users. Back on the main menu, the user can access its profile by pressing on the My Profile button. From that page, he or she can modify its password, email address, phone number, home address, and city. The user can also access its wish list and, if desired, can add an item to it, as seen in the pictures. Next, the user can find a Search for Book button on the main menu, which will bring him to a new page where he or she can find its desired item with different searching options. If the user searches for a book by title or author, it can filter and sort its search with a specific category, city, and order of appearance. A user can quickly search for a book if he or she knows the ISBN of the desired book. When looking for a course pack, the search can be modified with a subject, city, and institution filter, and can be sorted too. There is also the option of performing an advanced course pack search. The user can enter the information he or she knows only to make results as precise as possible. Finally, back on the main menu, the user can access the page to sell his or her item by adding the information fields and a picture of the book or course pack. The more information there is on the product, the more the item looks attractive. Ayan will now make a concrete demonstration of the application shortly. But first, in terms of technical details, the application uses the Android platform. The IDEs used were NetBeans and Android Studio. The database used is Couchbase 4.6. The email verification system is implemented thanks to Java Mail API, and the app logo and icon were created with Adobe Photoshop. I will now pass on the rest of the presentation to my partner. I hope you enjoy the rest. Thank you for your attention.
Now just let me skip to my part. So, as Owen stated, we had to deal with a lot of new technical tools that we saw for the first time. For example, the Android Studio. We had to use it and learn from scratch to create an application that is deployable on mobile devices. The Java Mail API, we had to learn how to use this one too, because we needed some sort of security layer to prevent malicious users from creating fake accounts or empty accounts and hence making a database overflow. lack of space. We also had to deal with databases and networking, two new topics that we never saw in class. So what we have learned so far. So what we have learned, as I already said, we have learned how to deploy Android application using Android Studio. We learned how to create how to set up a network using multi-threading in order to enable client and server communications. We also implemented the Java Mail API for mail verification. We had to really dive into the differences between the relational and non-relational databases, because the thing seems quite easy, but once it's the time to choose, it's really a tricky question of that will result in your overall performance and the speed of your development. This leads me to the next part, which is we have to learn how to use Couchbase, which uses his own new syntax called Nico, which is kind of like SQL syntax with some slight modifications. Besides of that, we did tons of research, but we didn't really have time to apply everything we have found. So let's dive into the backend. Basically, the networking connection, it was the most difficult part, at least at the beginning, because we had to divide the user operations from the server operations. So basically, there's no constant connection that is maintained while the application is running. The client only establishes a connection when he has something to pass to the database or asks something from it, which increases the productivity of the application. Okay, you'll ask, what's the benefit of that for you as a user, as a client? First of all, because there's no constant connection to maintain, there's no packets that are sent from the client to the server and from the server to the client constantly, your bandwidth it's much smaller, hence you save more of your time. Second thing, because there's no background operations that are working to maintain this connection, your battery will last much longer. It doesn't matter if you open your app and leave it 4 hours open but not touching anything, or whether you type something but not send it to the server, not press anything. Basically, until you press a button, nothing is connected to anything. You are in flying mode. The third most interesting benefit is because the server does not allocate resources to deal with idle clients or just people who accidentally open the app. He has more resources to allocate to you, to active users who want their things fast. Yeah, so that's about it. I agree, this is very cool. However, there are some things that still needs improvement. First and most important thing is the data input-output from the client to the server. Yes, we tried to optimize this as much as we could during our time frame. However, there are still restrictions due to the amount of data that can be passed in a single shot. And also, the following point is the client flow. Although the amount of data is also connected to the amount of clients we have, the clients themselves, the amount of simultaneous connections that happen at the same time is very crucial for the speed and functionality of the server itself. Third one, security increase, because everything is about security. And the last one is basically our ideal, is to, we hope to make it cross-platform one day. Next thing, further plans. Basically, improve everything I just mentioned, and after this, using the amazing projects we had here today, add a French version of the app, and then deploy everything to the Google Play Store. So now for a quick demonstration. Basically, you already saw all the functionality of the program, except it wasn't live. Now we gonna really see how it works. Okay, so this is my device, as you can see, and this thing here is BiblioGeeks logo. When you open it, you get to the login page that Owen already instructed you about, and I'm just gonna log into my already created account. As you can see, there's a small pop-up that appears on the notifications. That means I have a new notification, but we will discuss that slightly later. I will navigate straight ahead to the profile page. As you can see, you have all those edit buttons. If you click on one, for example, the one of the address, you can edit your street or whatever you like. Let's say, and save. Changes are saved immediately to the database. So next time you open the profile, the information from the server is already updated. Next thing, it's the wish list. I have one thing here in the wish list, which is a book. It is shown like this as a dialogue. You can add new wish if you like to. Let's just add a book. Book, ISBN, some random number, and it's there. You can also delete the wishes, and hence stop receiving notifications, because there are two types of notifications: the system notifications and the user notifications. System notifications sends you notifications about new books that were posted and you were looking for. They were in your wish list. So we finished with the wish list. I'm short on time, so I'll go quick. Let's go to notifications. You see here French book, new notification. When you open it, this is the content from user sent notification. As you see, the notification is now red. And if you open red notifications, there are different types of them, and you can sort them depending on date or name. Also, favorites. For now, I have nothing in my favorites, so let's go ahead and search for something. For example, just a general search for books. Automatically, those are all books that are registered currently in the system, and if you click on one of them, this is basically the advertisement that is displayed. You can add the book to favorites, and you can send a message to the owner of the advertisement. So just send her the message, and it was sent. Now, since I have added this advertisement to my favorites, if I go to my profile favorites, it will be there, and basically this is a direct link to the advertisement. If the advertisement gets deleted, your favorites list automatically updated, and the entry disappears. You have also the option to view your own posts, the posts that you have posted. You can delete them, as we did with the wish list, but also while you're in edit mode, you can actually modify the advertisement. For example, the price here is 15. Let's just change it to 95. Just because we are nice. So next time you go to my posts, it's 95. Another important thing is the creation. You can create a new advertisement from the main menu or from my posts. Let's just go with the main menu. So basically, both course material and books. You can choose a photo. Let's just specify a condition. here just enter something. Let's hit that. Title, book, author, myself, ISBN, some random number, publisher, I don't know, post. Now if you go to my profile, my posts, you have the entry book, which is exactly what we have just posted. So it is very brief, but basically this is the key functionality of the application. The best thing is that you don't need to run. Don't need to run the protocol. You don't need to search. You get, even if you're in offline mode, all the notifications from the system coming to you on the server side. Once you open that application, you see those notifications like we just did. So basically you can rest while the app is working. It makes your start of semester books purchasing easy. Thank you.